Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. We are back. It's been a little hiatus for the Real Wellness podcast as I was traveling for a couple of weeks with my husband, who actually took 2 weeks off, which is very unusual. But it is an honor to be back with my guest, Brad Walsh. If you haven't checked out the Real Wellness podcast, it's really a place where I invite guests to have authentic conversations on the things they're doing in the world that just bring people joy, that help people work through resilience, have a healthy lifestyle, because y'all know that's what I'm about, and just people that I really jive with that are really making a difference in our world. So I'm really honored to have Brad here with us today.
I am so excited and equally as honored to be here as a guest on your platform, Jess. I had you on my podcast and we just released the episode yesterday. So I'm very, 2 days ago. So I am so honored and excited to be here with you today and be part of your platform and share with your audience a bit about what I'm doing and who I am and all the things. So thank you so much for welcoming me and having me on your platform.
Yeah, awesome. And we are live, so we never know what's going to happen, right? But I am going to read Brad's bio, and I'm going to use my glasses because, I'm mid-age now. Okay, Brad Walsh is an international speaker, soul visibility guide, podcast host, producer, photographer, and international best-selling author who helps women step into their power and men become compassionate leaders through Empowerography, a top 1.5% globally rated podcast. That's impressive.
Thank
He
you.
has held space for over 800 conversations with extraordinary women, creating a movement to empower, elevate, and educate voices around the world. So I told Brad, I listened to our podcast yesterday because it was, we recorded a while ago.
Yeah.
And it truly was like, and I'm not like going to brag, like I felt really confident in the way I responded, but Brad had some really, really powerful questions that really just made me think, and I hope added value to people based on my story and my experience. So we're going to jump right in, Brad. As I was looking at your website and all, I want to know, first of all, what brought you to the work you do today? Because it's not common for a man to lift other women. It's usually women, you hear the women lifting women. But when I met you, I was like, this is really unusual and really cool that we have a man that's just here to elevate women's voices. So what brought you to the work that you do, Brad?
Oh, well, let's go way back to the beginning. Before I even knew this was going to be a thing, obviously, my journey really starts with photography. I learned how to shoot on black and white film back in high school. I took a class in high school and I fell in love with that art form. And so that photography is I guess we'll say my first love, my first passion. It's just part of who I am. It's in my DNA. And I always thought that this is it. This is all I'm going to do. I'm a photographer. I am an artist, and you can't take the artist out of me. It's just part of who I am. It's in my DNA. And so fast forward a few years after taking that class, and I went to college for audiovisual production. So I learned all the back end of all of this kind of stuff. And photography was part of that curriculum as well. So I further enhanced my skill sets with photography. And so I started creating and exhibiting and selling my art at art shows around Toronto. Now, I didn't want to photograph people. My thing was architecture, landscapes, and I would do exactly that, create and sell my art at art shows. Fast forward a few years after that, or during that same time, I guess, I went to college, got my degree, and out of college, I ended up working with a company for 8 years. We traveled around North America, setting up video walls for corporate shows, concerts, things like that. I was on the road probably 200 days out of the year, and that just got really exhausting and tiring. And so I was looking for some more stability in terms of a career. A friend of mine that I went to college with happened to be working at one of the big four accounting firms, and he let me know that they were looking for another audiovisual tech to work at the firm. I threw my hat in the ring. I got the job. I ended up working there for 12 and a half years. And about 3 years into my corporate career, I was tasked with the responsibility, we'll say, to put it politely, of doing the corporate headshots. And that's where I fell in love with photographing people. I loved having that connection and that one-on-one time with people. As they sat for their portraits, I could connect with them and learn a bit about who they are, what they do. And then about 3 years after that, I was connected with and introduced through a mutual friend to a boudoir photographer who was based in Florida. And I fell in love with her work and the mission and the message behind that genre of photography, with what you can help women accomplish in terms of body acceptance, self love, self confidence. And so I ended up mentoring with her for 6 months. And when I was done my mentorship with her, it was just one of those light bulb moments. I just knew that that's what I've got to do with my photography business when I do make the jump to photography full time. And I always knew that that was my calling. I had that I was going to be a photographer. I wasn't going to
Mhm.
stay stuck in corporate forever. And so when I did leap into corporate, or out of corporate into entrepreneurship, I jumped into the photography world. It didn't happen for 6 years. So at the end of my 12, I was there 12 and a half years. So I leapt into the photography world and I loved doing that work. And that's really where my journey into this women's empowerment advocacy began, was through my photography work. And so I leapt into that, and it was so amazing to be able to witness and facilitate at the same time. A lot of these women, my clients, were meeting themselves for the first time through the
Mhm.
sessions, and stepping into who they truly were, stepping into their confidence, and being able to give that gift to another human being is one of the most beautiful and powerful things that anyone could do. And for me, that just set my soul on fire. I love doing that work. I love being able to give that gift. And I love being able to witness that transformation unfold right before my very eyes. And so at the 2 year mark of my entrepreneurial journey as a photographer, I started to feel like I wanted to have a bigger impact. I wanted to reach more people. And so I thought, well, what am I going to do to do that? How can I achieve that? And I thought, well, I could take the values, the purpose, and the mission of the work I do as a photographer with women, and somehow figure out a way to translate that or turn that into a podcast. Now, at the time, and even now, I don't know of any other platform out there in the world that is hosted by a man that solely focuses on amplifying and elevating women's voices. So I thought, this is great. I can carve out my own little niche in the podcast world. The podcast can stand out on its own from all the other podcasts that are out there. And also, I had never interviewed a single person in my entire life. I had never even listened to a podcast before I jumped in, but I thought, how hard can it be? I'll figure it out. So I jumped in. I reached out to 7 or 8 friends of mine, women who I had met through my photography journey, other photographers, makeup artists, and I explained the infancy of the idea for the platform and what I wanted to do with it and where I wanted to take it. And I asked them if they would help me get it off the ground by letting me interview them. Thankfully, they all agreed. They said yes. I did the interviews, I created the content, and I was publishing an episode every 2 weeks at the time. But also at that same time, my photography business started to pick up traction. I was getting more inquiries and more bookings. And I thought, okay, I have to shift all of my energy, my time, and my focus back to the business. So I shelved the podcast idea. I now refer to that as my dress rehearsal era of empowerography.
Mhm.
And I focused on the business. We then fast forward to March of 2020. And of course, we all know how that played out around the
Mhm.
world. And so I thought, well, you have two choices here, because obviously I can't be running a photography business in this current condition. So I thought, well, you can go through door number one, where you can just sit around and feel sorry for yourself, be miserable, all the things that everyone else was doing around the world. I thought, no, that's not for me. I don't want to do that. Or you could go through door number two and choose to look at this as a gift of time that we've all been given, and use that gift of time to put some good out into the world, because the world could use it. So I went through door number two. I started reaching out to women on social media, explaining again the idea behind the platform, what I wanted to do with it. And the response just was incredible. Women were so happy to hear that a man had created a platform such as this to help elevate and amplify the voices of women, that it turned into this thing where the women I was interviewing were saying, Brad, I've got a friend, I'll connect you. Brad, I know someone, should be a great guest. And so here we are now, almost 6.5 years later. I just published you were my 799th episode.
Ooh.
And it has been 6 of the most incredible years of my life. I have met some of the most amazing, inspiring, resilient women I've ever met in my entire life. I have completely evolved as a man. I am a completely different man than I was 6.5 years ago. And a lot of that is to the fact that I've had all these conversations with over 800 women, and what I've learned from those conversations. And it has been such an amazing journey to go through and the honor of being invited into these spaces to share in these women's stories is so huge, and it is not lost on me. I am grateful every single day for every one of those over 800 women who have invited me into that space to share in their vulnerable stories and be a part of that. And so at the foundation of all of it is my mother and my grandmother. I was raised by those two women. My
Mhm.
mom left my biological father when I was 10. He was running around on her having an affair. And of course, back in those days, women were the ones who stayed home to raise the children, while the
Mhm.
husband was the one working to support the family. So when I look back on that as an adult male, the fact that she had the strength and the courage, and of course, the support of my grandmother, her mother, to stand up after 15 years of marriage and say, no more. I'm not putting up with this. I'm taking my boys and we're leaving. And that's exactly what we did. We left with nothing but the clothes on our back. We moved into a one-bedroom apartment. My mom slept on a couch. My brother and I shared a bedroom. And she had to get a job after being out of work for 10 years because she sacrificed to stay home and raise us so she could be there and be the mother she wanted to be. And when she was at work, my grandmother would step in. So for me, those two women are my heart and my soul. I wouldn't be the man I am today without those two women. They shaped who I am. And so this is because there's no way I could ever pay them back for all that they did for me, the sacrifices, the love, the lessons. This is my way of honoring them. And it is my tip of the hat to them. It is my way of repaying that debt by honoring them through this platform. So they're the foundation for all of it. And for me, this is more than just a podcast. This is a global movement. I want 1 million women involved in the platform. I want chapters of Empowerography set up all over the world, and women running those chapters, guiding and mentoring other women. I want the Empowerography Live conference to be a conference that travels around the world. I want a board of directors. I want to explode this thing onto the world. Jess,
Yeah.
it is my purpose and my mission on this planet. I know that without a shadow of a doubt, that this is why I was put here, is to do this work.
Wow. So much we can unpack there. First of all, I have no doubt that you will achieve that, Brad. And the fact that your mom and your grandma are the backbone, it's full circle. What an honor to them, for what you witnessed growing up and how you've just brought that full circle to now use not only 800 women's stories, but just the ripple effect
Mhm.
of the amount of people, the amount of women, men that you've touched through your podcast is just incredible. So, way to go. Now, you
Thank
touched
you.
upon something that I definitely want to expand upon.
Mhm.
You said you've had like at least 800 interviews.
Mhm.
What lessons have resonated the most? Like, what theme do you feel like has been repeated time and time again that just stands out? Like, if you were to think like off the cuff, because I didn't give
Um,
them the questions ahead of time.
I would have to say one of the biggest ones is the systems that have been created and built by men for men, and how we have expected women to adapt and fit into those systems. We keep telling women that they need more confidence training, they need more executive presence training, they need more leadership training, and all of these things, when we've been blaming the women for them not being able to fit in or having problems in the workplace, when it's not the women. There is nothing wrong with these women. We are asking them to be someone that they're not. We're asking them to wear masks. Who wants to wear a mask? We as humans should not be wearing masks. So we have been on this road of, well, the women need the women are the problem. We need to fix the women. No, it's the systems that need to be fixed. We need to start over and rejig these systems, whether it's burn them down and start over again or just remodel them. But that's the problem. We've been blaming the women when it's not the women. It is the systems that need to be
Yeah.
fixed. We need to change how we look at leadership. We need to, I honestly believe, Jess, that if we had more women in the world in positions of authority, whether it be in corporate, government, whatever it is, and I want to, one caveat there, the women, the right women in those positions, I
Yes.
think
Yes.
we would be living in such a different world right now. It would be absolutely phenomenal, because women don't want war. Women don't want their kids going off to war. Those that have children, they don't want them going off to war with the possibility of being killed. We need to change how we're doing things. And the second one that really resonates with me is, or that really stood out for me, is, and I'm sure most women do this, and I call it the crumbs pattern. They give themselves the crumbs. They give
Mhm.
everything else of themselves to everybody else around them, whether that be their husband, their wife, their partner, their friends, their community, their family, their kids. This has to change as well. You know, then they get whatever's left over for them, and there's usually nothing. That
Yep.
needs to change. And women are getting burnt out in the corporate world, or they're always tired. They're getting ill. Illnesses creep in, and of course, you can speak to this. The Real Wellness Podcast, being healthy and putting yourself first. A woman gave me this analogy of a cup and a saucer. She said that whatever is in the cup is for you. Whatever overflows into the saucer is what you have left to give to others.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's the way it should be. So I call that the crumbs pattern. And
Yeah.
most women are living that way because they have been conditioned and
Mhm.
told that this is how you're supposed to live. You have to put your children first. You have to put your husband or your partner first. And that's not the case. I think that if more women leaned into and started putting themselves first, this would give them so much more in the tank to be able to give to those whom they choose to give to after
Yes.
they have already filled their cup up. I mean, we hear that on airplanes all the time. Put your own oxygen mask on
Yep.
first, then you help out. It is so true. So those are the two biggest patterns I noticed in all the women.
Yeah.
And there's 8 in total, but those are two of the biggest ones that I noticed. So, and it needs to change. We need to do things differently. The way we're doing it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah. And we just need more voices and
For sure.
advocating. And I think what you
Yes.
mentioned, I mean, both can relate to, but specifically the crumbs theory. And that's what I
Hmm.
promote to women is you have got to prioritize your health, or
Hmm.
otherwise you are not able to show up for everyone else. And that's the premise of everything I do, not just for women, but for men, leaders,
Yep.
whatever.
Hmm.
So great point. Okay, question I have is how can we truly be seen? And does it start with ourselves?
Oh, absolutely. Everything starts with us. We are the
Right?
foundation for all of it. Again, this is another thing that we as humans have been conditioned to believe and taught, that you have to seek the answers outside of you. Everything is external. No, it's not. We have absolutely everything we need inside of us, but we have been taught that no, 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 you have to look outside. Every human has this little thing called intuition, and it, I don't want to say it's been conditioned out of us, because it hasn't. It's there, it still lives within us, but I think it's been tamped so far down within us that we have forgotten that it's there. So really, in my opinion, it's a sense of tapping into, trusting, listening to your inner voice, spending the time to sit with yourself and reflect and be introspective, and then remember. It's a matter of remembering that it's there. That's the
Mhm.
problem. We have just forgotten that it's there. Every single human, man and woman, have intuition. So we need to remember and relearn how to tap into that and use it, because we have everything we need. And the foundation for everything is self
Yeah.
love. The answers are all within us. So it starts there. We have to get back to basics and start listening to our inner voice and start trusting our inner voice.
Yeah, that is crucial. I think we have so much outside noise, and
We
it
do.
just gets worse,
Yeah.
is like you said, to just sit with yourself, listen. Intuition is such a gift, and I know me personally, when I have tapped into that, that's when I know I'm being true to myself and being
Hmm.
seen for who I truly am. And you mentioned earlier about the mask, and I think so
Hmm.
many women specifically walk around with that mask of not
Yes,
being true to who they are, or putting out a certain image for society because that's what they're expected to do, but that's just not the reality. And it's honestly, it's exhausting. It's like,
it
at what
is.
point do you just say no more, I got to be authentic to myself?
Hmm.
And
Well, I think part of that is people fear what will happen if they take the mask off, right? It's about setting boundaries, and again, it's about leaning into and trusting yourself and believing in yourself and being who you authentically are. And those people that don't want to be around or that will fall away, that's okay. They're not meant to be there. Then, if they can't love
yeah,
you for who you are authentically, then it's their loss. But we have to get back to that, because
yeah,
it's been forgotten.
yeah, for real. Okay, what, through all like the interviews you've done, what common
Hmm.
qualities have you noticed through all the stories that truly build resilience and lead to growth? Like, what would you say were the common qualities that the women have?
Mm. I think one of them is a support system. Having a good support system in
Yeah,
place. That's probably the first one because we can't do this thing called life alone. We can't do entrepreneurship alone, and nor is it meant to be done alone. We are meant to do things in community with one another. And I believe that we are here. The biggest reason we are here is to be in and of service to one another. So it's that service mindset. It's shifting the mindset. So a mindset shift is another thing that I've learned about how that can shift it, change everything for you, is when you start believing in yourself, when you start being in and of service, things will just fall into place when you're doing things from your heart because you want to do them, not
yeah,
because you're expecting something in return.
yep,
That is something huge that I've noticed is that a lot of these women, most of these women have stepped into that heart-centered mindset and believing in themselves. I mean, it's everything. You have to surround and the support system. That is probably the most important one, is the support system, having your cheerleaders, having those people in your corner who will support you and lift you up, because you are going to go through those days where it's rough and
mhm,
everything is not puppy dogs and ice cream and rainbows, and that's not the way life is. So if
right,
you have that support system around you to lift you up when you experience those days, then you're doing okay. But again, it starts here. We have to be able to support ourselves as well and believe in ourselves. And
yeah,
a lot of people don't want to sit with themselves, though. Like I said before about leaning into and remembering the intuition, people don't want to take the time to do the work to sit with themselves.
yeah,
We've become this society where everybody wants the quick fix. Everybody wants the
mm,
magic bullet. They
yeah,
don't want
yeah,
to put in the work, right? And
yeah,
you have to put in the work. And I don't like using that word work. I have to find another word for it, because work, when I think about what I do for a living, and I'm sure you feel the same, what you do for a living, it's not work. It doesn't feel like work. It's
yeah.
it's
It's
something that brings
purpose.
joy. Yes, there
Yeah,
you
it's
go.
purpose.
Purpose, mission, something other than work, because work just makes it sound like I think about my corporate job. That was work,
Yeah. There's
right?
a difference. There's a difference
Yes, for
between work and
sure.
purpose. My
For sure.
spiritual coach has taught me, and it's not easy for me because I don't like to sit still, but just being still. And I think
Oh.
our society is not wired to just be still. And that means no TV, no music, no this. For me, being still is usually out in nature walking,
Mhm.
like because
Yeah.
I have a hard time just sitting, but I've learned just to move in nature and feel the stillness within me. And again, that's where the magic happens. And I think if people slowed down enough to feel that, their life could be truly different. But it's making the time, which people say they don't have. But then I'm like, well, how are you spending your time, watching everyone else's lives go by? So,
It's about prioritizing your time. We all have, every single human has the same amount of hours in a day, and it's
yes.
24. And this presence thing and stillness is something that I've been learning and practicing quite diligently since April of this year. And it has been difficult because, like you, I'm one that go, 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 always doing, doing,
Yeah.
doing. And we are not human doings. We are human beings. So we have
Mhm.
to remember to step into that presence and stillness. It is so important, because when you do that, as painful as it can be sometimes, as much as you don't want to, it brings clarity and focus, which is something I'm learning, that through this stillness and presence practice that I have been implementing since April, that it has brought me a lot of clarity. And there's still a lot of, now this is work, so I'll use the word work. It's still,
Mhm.
there's still a lot of work to do around this practice and gaining the clarity and the focus. But I promise you, if you do step into that, it will definitely help bring clarity and focus to whatever it is that you're dealing with or struggling with. It
Yep.
will help you. You just have to practice it.
Yeah. So you made some really good points. Number one, living your purpose and not it being work, and
Mhm.
serving the people that we used to be. That's what I always say. Like the storms you walk through and you've been able to get through on the other side, then we're able to help those other people along. You talked about the importance of community,
Mhm.
for sure, and being still and putting in the work to know what is your true authentic self. So all awesome tips.
Thank you.
Okay, one last question.
Yeah.
What does living a real life mean to you?
Living my purpose, living what I was here to do, and not being afraid to do that, whether it's uncomfortable, whether you've got which because we all have those naysayers and people chirping in our ears saying, "Do you really want to do that?" I remember when I first was getting ready to leave corporate and jump into photography full time, and I had people coming up to me at my job saying, "Are you sure you want to do that? There's so many photographers out there. How are you going to compete?" And then all these things. And so the competition mindset, I struggled with that for almost 2 years, Jess, and it's a difficult road to walk.
Mhm.
But I think that when we're living in our purpose, when we're doing what makes our soul sing, what makes our heart smile and sing, that's what living is. That is living. That is truly living.
Yes.
Because think about all the people that go to work every day and hate their jobs. They're
Mhm.
miserable 5 days out of 7. We only have 7 days a week. And these people are miserable for 5 days. They get home on the Friday night. They have what, half an evening. They've got Saturday, and then Sunday, the worry starts to set in again. Oh, I have to
Yeah.
go back to work on Monday. I don't want to go. And that is not living, that's existing.
Yes.
So, this is another reason why I think it's so important to sit with yourself and invest in the time in finding what your purpose is. I wish every person on this planet could find their purpose because your world will change dramatically. It's everything. It is absolutely everything. So
Yeah.
invest the time in yourself. You are worth it.
Mhm. Yes, we are. I can't tell you the amount of clients I work with that don't know what brings them joy. They forget because they're in survival mode. They don't know
Mhm.
their purpose. Or I just did a presentation before we got on this today about creativity and
Mhm.
how to foster that within yourself, especially as we age, because again, we forget who we used to be or the things that light us up. So it is crucial to know what it is and to practice it each week. We are not here just to work. We're here to have joy, to serve others, to love, and so all of that, what you said, just totally resonates with me. So, Brad, how can our viewers and listeners get in touch with you? Are there any projects? I know on your website you have something called the Visibility Guide
Mhm.
that people can go. So, and I'll put this in the comments as well. But if you just want to share how they can get in contact with you.
Yeah. So my website, empowerographypodcast.com, is a great place to start. LinkedIn, Brad Walsh, and Instagram, Empowerography Podcast. And you can find out what I'm doing, all the things I'm working on. And I'm just, yeah, this is my purpose. I love that I get to do this. It's an incredible honor. And Jess, thank you so much for having me today. It was an absolute pleasure being here. And I loved our conversation on my podcast, and I love this conversation today. So thank you for facilitating such an amazing conversation today. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I totally am excited about what's to come for you. We'll be in touch.
Mhm.
And for all of those, please follow the Real Wellness Podcast, connect with Brad. If you need my support, you know I'm always here for you. And until next time, make sure you keep it real and take care of your health.
Thank you.